It was a scorching summer afternoon in Atlanta, and the sun showed no mercy. The pavement shimmered with heat, and people moved quickly between air-conditioned spaces to escape the suffocating warmth. In the middle of a corporate building's executive parking lot, a luxury silver sedan sat motionless, hood up, steam pouring out like a kettle. Surrounding the car were four sharply dressed men, their tailored suits beginning to betray them in the heat. At the center of it all stood Mr. Charles Kingston, the CEO of the company, and a man not known for his patience. His Italian shoes tapped furiously against the pavement, his Rolex flashing in the sunlight every time he checked it. "Unbelievable," he muttered, pacing. "I've got a meeting in 30 minutes, and this piece of junk decides to give up now?" A tow truck was on the way, but traffic was backed up downtown, and help could be at least an hour out. The other executives offered ideas, mostly useless, throwing around mechanical terms they barely understood just to sound involved. That's when she arrived. Maya. She pushed her janitor's cart out of the building and headed toward the side exit, her shift just ending. Her khaki uniform was soaked at the back with sweat. From a full day of cleaning offices, restrooms, and break rooms. Her red bandana covered most of her hair, and a Bluetooth headphone was in one ear, playing a podcast about single parenting and budgeting. She glanced at the open hood, her eyes scanning the setup, then paused. "Looks like it's overheating," she said casually, stopping a few feet away. "Might be a busted thermostat or a coolant leak." The executives turned toward her. Mr. Kingston raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" he asked. "I said I think it's the cooling system," she replied calmly, nodding toward the car. "Happens a lot in weather like this." Kingston blinked and then he laughed. Loudly. A few of the other men followed suit. "You?" he said between chuckles. "You're a janitor. What do you know about cars?" Maya didn't smile. She stood still, her expression neutral. "More than you'd think. Looks like it's overheating," she said casually, stopping a few feet away. "Might be a busted thermostat or a coolant leak." The executives turned toward her. Mr. Kingston raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" he asked. "I said I think it's the cooling system," she replied calmly, nodding toward the car. "Happens a lot in weather like this." Kingston blinked and then he laughed. Loudly. A few of the other men followed suit. "You?" he said between chuckles. "You're a janitor. What do you know about cars?" Maya didn't smile. She stood still, her expression neutral. "More than you'd think." "Oh, I'm sure," he said sarcastically. "Should I cancel the mechanic and let you take a swing at it with your mop?" More laughter erupted. One of the younger executives, clearly uncomfortable, looked at Maya and opened his mouth to say something, but stopped. The tone was already set. This wasn't a conversation. It was a performance. Maya nodded slowly. "I'm not trying to embarrass you," she said. "Just trying to help. It's probably a loose clamp or a pressure valve issue. You'll overheat the engine worse if you keep it running." Kingston rolled his eyes, his patience thinning. "This is a $100,000 car, lady. You think I'm gonna let a janitor mess with it? Just stick to the floors, all right?" That stung, but Maya didn't flinch. She looked at the car one more time, then turned to walk away. But as she did, one of the execs quietly whispered to Kingston, "Sir, she might actually be right. It does sound like the thermostat or coolant system." Kingston frowned. "Fine," he said loudly. "You want a shot? Go ahead. Show us what you've got, janitor." Maya stopped. She turned around, walked slowly back to the car, and calmly set her cart aside. No anger, no rush, just purpose. Everyone watched. She opened the hood wider, studied the engine for a few seconds, then picked up a wrench that had been sitting in the cart. It was old, but clean. 5 minutes, she said softly. Just give me 5. The entire parking lot seemed to freeze in place as Maya stepped forward. The executives exchanged glances, their smirks slowly fading. There was something in her calm demeanor, something that made even Mr. Kingston pause. She wasn't rushing, she wasn't showing off. She was just confident. She set her cleaning cart aside and walked over to the car like she'd done this 1,000 times before. Because, as they were about to find out, she had. With the wrench in hand, she leaned over the engine and examined the components, unfazed by the rising heat or the judgmental eyes around her. She placed her hand carefully on the radiator hose, then moved to the coolant reservoir. "Yep," she mumbled, "barely any coolant, and this clamp's loose. Might have been vibrating while you were driving." No one responded. They were all watching in stunned silence. Maya grabbed a small bottle of coolant from her maintenance cart, something she kept around for emergencies in company generators and backup machines. She refilled the reservoir with a practiced hand, then adjusted the clamp, tightened it smoothly with the wrench, and tapped the thermostat housing with the back of her knuckle. She stood back and said, "All right, try starting it again." Kingston narrowed his eyes. "That's it?" Maya nodded. "That's it." Skeptical, the CEO sat back in the driver's seat. He pressed the ignition. At first, there was silence, then a low, steady hum. The engine kicked on, smooth and powerful. No steam, no shaking, no warning lights. Everyone, including Kingston, froze. The man who had mocked her now stared at her through the windshield, mouth slightly open. The arrogant grin from earlier? Gone. He stepped out of the car and walked around to the front, checking under the hood like he didn't believe what just happened. "It's running," he said, stunned. "I told you," Maya replied gently, wiping her hands on a rag. "Wasn't a big fix." One of the executives broke the silence. "That was impressive." Another chimed in, "Do you like work on cars or something?" Maya looked at them, a small smile on her face. "Used to. 10 years as an auto technician. I only took this janitor job because I needed flexible hours after my husband passed away. Had to take care of my son." That changed everything. You could feel it in the air, the shift in how they looked at her. Just moments ago, she was dismissed as just a janitor. Now she was something entirely different. Someone with real skills, real experience, real strength. Even Kingston, still standing near the engine, looked genuinely embarrassed. He cleared his throat. "You fixed a problem in 5 minutes that a professional mechanic might have taken an hour to even diagnose." Maya just shrugged. Sometimes it's not about the tools. It's about knowing where to look. The men nodded slowly. They couldn't argue with that. For the first time that day, Kingston didn't have a smug comeback. He looked at her and said, sincerely, "Thank you." It wasn't just gratitude for fixing the car. It was the beginning of respect. Genuine, overdue respect. What had started as a joke had turned into something humbling, a powerful reminder of how easily we misjudge people. And Maya? She wasn't interested in being anyone's hero. She had simply done what she knew how to do. Nothing more, nothing less. But the impact she made in those few minutes would last far longer than the repair she'd just completed. After Maya brought the luxury engine back to life, the atmosphere in the parking lot was no longer hot with heat. It was thick with silence. No one knew what to say. The suits, who had been joking and smirking just minutes ago, were now speechless. Mr. Kingston, the man who had arrogantly dismissed her, stood awkwardly beside his idling car, still trying to piece together what just happened. He cleared his throat and asked the one thing on everyone's mind. "So, who exactly are you?" Maya gave a small shrug, still wiping her hands with the rag from her cart. Just someone who used to fix cars, she replied with a soft smile. Kingston frowned slightly, stepping closer. You're clearly more than just someone. You diagnosed and fixed a high-performance engine faster than my dealership ever could. That's not something you just pick up. One of the younger executives leaned in, intrigued. You were a mechanic before this? Maya nodded. Worked in a family-owned shop for almost 10 years. We specialized in European and hybrid engines. I used to run diagnostics, rebuild transmissions, troubleshoot electrical systems. All of it. You ran the shop? The young man asked. Well, she replied, I didn't own it, but after my dad passed, I kept it going with my brothers. Then, my life changed. Her voice dropped a bit, the weight of her words slowing the moment down. My husband passed away from cancer 3 years ago. It was sudden. We weren't ready. And with my son still in elementary school, I had to make a choice. Full-time shop hours, or be there for him after school. She looked up at them, not seeking pity, just explaining her truth. So I took the janitor position here. Cleaning might not pay what fixing engines does, but it gave me evenings with my boy, and that's what mattered most. The group fell silent again. Mr. Kingston was visibly stunned. He shifted uncomfortably in his expensive loafers. This woman, who he'd laughed at just 15 minutes ago, was not only skilled, but had made hard sacrifices, the kind most people in his position never had to face. I had no idea, he said softly. Most people don't ask, Maya replied, her voice still calm. They just see the uniform and assume they know everything. That line hit harder than any engine part she could have thrown. Every man standing there suddenly became aware of how often they'd overlooked her in the hallways, how many times they walked past her like she was invisible. They'd seen the mop, not the mind, the uniform, not the experience, the title, not the person. She's incredible, one of the junior staff whispered to another. How many more Mayas do we walk past every day? Another executive added, it makes you think we promote tech culture, innovation, but the smartest person on our property was cleaning the break room? Maya chuckled quietly. Don't feel bad. Most people don't see what they're not looking for. Mr. Kingston turned to her again. Maya, I owe you more than an apology. I misjudged you, and I think we all did. But maybe we can make that right. She raised an eyebrow. How? He looked at his team, then back at her. Let's talk after your shift. I have an idea. In that moment, the lines between CEO and janitor started to blur. What remained was something real, respect, and the beginning of change. The silver sedan continued to purr quietly behind them, now fixed and perfectly fine, thanks to the woman none of them expected to be the hero of the day. Maya stood tall, though she didn't need to. Her calm presence, her silence, and her expertise already spoke volumes. She hadn't gloated. She hadn't rubbed it in. She simply did what was needed and let the result speak for itself. Mr. Kingston, who had once laughed in her face, now couldn't bring himself to meet her eyes. He took a step forward, slowly and sincerely, clearing his throat. Maya, I need to say something. She looked at him, expression steady. She didn't expect much. Years of being ignored, overlooked, and dismissed had taught her that apologies were rare and often shallow. But this time felt different. I was wrong, he said, hands in his pockets. I judged you based on what I saw, not who you are. And the truth is, I'm embarrassed. The other executives stood back, watching quietly, surprised by his humility. This was the same man who just an hour ago dismissed her like she didn't belong. Maya stayed quiet, letting him speak. You were right about the car, Kingston continued. But more than that, you showed all of us something today. That we've got blinders on. We walk around here thinking we know everything, thinking we can spot talent just by the way someone dresses or what title they have. He looked at his team. How many of you walked past her every single day and never thought to say hello? I know I have. There were nods. No one denied it. One of the junior staffers spoke up. She's probably more qualified than half the people in that building, including me. Maya finally spoke. You're not the first person to assume I'm just a janitor, and maybe you won't be the last. But here's what I've learned. Skill doesn't wear a suit, and wisdom doesn't need a degree. The line hit hard. Even Kingston was speechless for a moment. You're right, he said. So I want to ask you something. She looked at him curiously. We're about to launch a STEM outreach program for underprivileged schools in the city. It's a side initiative, not part of the main company, but we want to teach kids about mechanics, tech, and practical skills. And we could really use someone like you to help lead it. Maya blinked. She had fixed the man's car. Now he wanted her to help fix something far more important. The lack of opportunity for kids who were just like her once. Kids who were smart, skilled, and often overlooked. You want me to teach? She asked. Not just teach, Kingston said. Lead. Build the curriculum. Run hands-on workshops. We'll work around your schedule. You'll be paid accordingly. There was a pause. I'll still be the janitor? She asked. Only if you want to be, he replied. But from what I've seen today, I think you're capable of a lot more. Maya looked down at her wrench, then over at the shining car behind her. You know, she said slowly, I've always loved teaching. When I worked at my dad's shop, I trained every need tech who came in. Helping someone understand something they thought was too hard, there's nothing better than that. So? Kingston asked. Will you do it? She smiled, not because she wanted recognition, but because, for once, someone had seen her fully. Yeah, she said, I will. And just like that, the day that began with mockery ended in opportunity, not just for Maya, but for every young mind she was about to inspire. If Maya's story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss another powerful story that proves titles don't define people.